Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm bringing you a review for the brand new Marvel Legends Ulik, King of the Rock Trolls. This toy is a Walmart exclusive here in the US and was unveiled during the Walmart CollectorCon event and is finally shipping out to people that ordered it. And this Ulik is a bit of a retool of a previous version that was released as part of a 2-pack. So he's got some updated pieces here and there, and generally just better looking than the old version. That being said, if you see my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Ulik's packaging, then we'll open it up. We'll get a good look at the figure, we'll check out his posability, his different accessories and everything. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So Ulik comes in your large deluxe size Marvel Legends packaging with a big wide window here. We get to see our Rock Troll King just kind of grinning at us with his big old tusky smile. We have an angry yelling face right here. We have two alternate hands down in the bottom that you can't see very well. And then we get his big old weapon right here. So far he looks great. I love this metallic sheen on the scale mail armor on his chest there. He's got like a cool little spiked necklace just kind of hanging. He's got this really nice silver paint going on. Really good looking so far. All right, so then take a look at the top. It's got Thor's hammer, which is very fitting. We get this artwork on the side that shows Ulik smiling about something and what looks like his rock troll minions down below him. And then over here, let's see, I think it's the same artwork, just reversed. So we get just a closer shot of Ulik. It's hard to tell if he's smiling or talking or scowling. Not really sure. And over here we get his name and some flavor text, and that reads, "The strongest and fiercest of all trolls, Ulik the Troll King is strong and stubborn as the Stone of Asgard." It's a little generic, but it does a good job of establishing, the character and his personality. And yeah, that's really it. Nothing too fancy. Just kind of your standard trappings. This could have easily have just been, some non-exclusive figure, but Walmart just managed to snag the rights to it, at least here in the US. I know he's already been popping up in other countries, much earlier, but what can you do? He seemed to be the last for everything lately. I think the world's like starting to reject us or something, because I remember when we used to get stuff before other countries, and now we're like the last country to get things, so I don't know. Now we get Ulik out of his box, and you can see all of his accessories laid out. Get his screaming head, his giant mace weapon, and then two clenched fists. So very, very cool. He definitely comes with a fair amount of accessories. I would say your typical loadout for a Legends figure, like what I consider the average and, I guess satisfactory amount, is one alternate head, one alternate pair of hands, and a weapon of some kind. Or, trade out the weapon for maybe something like energy effects. When a figure includes those things at a minimum, I think that's when it starts to feel like a good value. You'll notice lately a lot of figures, even ones that don't come with a Build-A-Figure piece, have like no additional accessories at all. Or at most, they might have like an extra pair of hands, that's it. And it never feels good, right? It feels very, very bare bones when the character comes with almost nothing to help customize your figure. And the only time I ever really find that to be, acceptable is if they come with like a massive Build-A-Figure piece or something. Something along the lines of Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey, where she just comes with the whole, main body section of Sugar Man. Like in that case, it's acceptable because like the package is mostly Sugar Man with a side of Jean Grey. So I get that. But more and more lately, I'm seeing them really skimp on the accessories, but still bringing the cost up. So feels bad, man. You know what I mean? All right. Anyway, so we check out Ulik here, and he is a big, hefty boy. Something I noticed after getting him out of the package, his arms, so from like the shoulder to the wrist, and his legs, the hip joint all the way down to the ankle, are actually reused from the recently released Retro Rhino. So I guess whenever Hasbro wants to just make a big brutish character that has rough looking skin, they just want to reuse this stuff, which does feel a little to me. Now I actually should rephrase that. I said reused from the Retro Rhino, but I think these were probably used for him first, right? Because we have that older version of Ulik. So he probably used these shoulder pieces and stuff first. I could be wrong. I don't know what order. There's definitely a lot of part sharing going on. Now, luckily, that seems to be the only part sharing going on between him and other characters. Obviously, the other version of Ulik is going to be a lot of the same parts. I don't have that one to show off, sorry. I'm still a pretty new collector here. But anyway, let's check out that posability. So he has a ball-jointed head with a hinge, so he can look up and down, though his little mane doesn't allow for much movement in that end. He's got his necklace, which just kind of dangles freely, which he gets moved around by his mane a lot, so you have to kind of readjust it as you do things. He's got universal shoulders, which can kind of collide with this bit of fur lining, which I guess, well, it's not a lining, I think that's supposed to be his hair, isn't it? So it does kind of clash a little bit, makes it hard to lift his arm all the way up like that. So yeah, just be aware of that. It's a little bit limited in his range. Does have the bicep swivel. Got the single bend elbows, which sadly break less than 90. Universal wrists. For his weapon holding hand, the hinge in the wrist goes this way, so he can swing his weapon a little better. He has an ab crunch, which is quite nice. Look how well all that's painted. I really dig that. He's got a full waist swivel. Universal hips, which lay out about that far. Thigh swivel, single bend knees, which go a little less than a 90 as well. And then your ankle rock and rotation. So your standard articulation for a big, brutish Marvel Legends character. This is about the norm for them. Every once in a while you get lucky and they'll get like a double elbow joint or something, but this is usually it. Now if we want to have a little bit of fun, we can have him wield his mace in this hand. Not sure how to get it in there because this base part's a little big, so probably have to squeeze the thinner part of the handle through his fingers. Yeah, there you go. All right. Doesn't hold it very well, that's for sure. I guess if you kind of push the thicker part up into his like pinky and ring fingers, he will hold it a little better. Creates a little more friction. So that's weird. You'd think he could hold this a little better. I guess something like that will help. I've just now noticed that this is actually very shiny. Like, it has a very iron-like texture to it, but it also has a nice bit of sheen, so it is pretty nice looking. Looks to be painted with something similar to what his chest area is painted with. So you can give him that. We could also go ahead and swap his head. This pops right off. You can always take the necklace off too, if you want to, once you remove the head. We'll put his screaming head on, which I think is the one I like more. Just looks a lot cooler. Something about this head makes him look kind of like he's cross-eyed. And also, again, I can't tell if he's grinning or angry or what, but I like this one. This is really cool looking. That's easily my favorite head on this. I noticed that his pin is like kind of popping out on this side. I wonder if it's possible to kind of hammer that in because I don't think it should be sticking out that far. That's annoying. All right, and then we get the optional closed-fisted hands. Let's see, go ahead. Pop his old one off. Let's see. Oh, he's got those little stubby pegs, so it's usually easier to like kind of bend them out. And I'll just do one. That way he can keep holding his weapon in the other hand. All right, is it in there? There we go. All right. Raw. There you go. Look at that. That looks cool. I think this is going to be my preferred pose for Ulik here. So yeah, fair amount of accessories. They all look really good. Great sculpting on everything. I will say that the standard face is a little meh to me. Just, I don't know. It just bothers me. Something off about it. I think this one's a lot better looking. I think the sculpting and the paint works a little bit better on the screaming face. One thing I like to do when I get these large figures is weigh them and see how their mass compares to other similarly sized figures. So I did the same thing for Ulik here. And what I found is that he weighs about 386 grams. And to put that in perspective, Rhino here weighs 348, and then the Hulk weighs 448. So Ulik sits pretty firmly right between these two. And, I mean, it makes sense. When you look at just the sheer size, he definitely fits somewhere between Rhino and Hulk. I do also want to point out that that weight is not including the hammer here. I just want to measure, his body. So yeah, he's about mid-range when it comes to mass. Once you get past Hulk, you get into very large and heavy figures like Armadillo and MODOK. At least, that's what I've experienced so far. And then on the low end, you get slightly smaller characters like Thing from Fantastic Four. So he's fairly hefty. He definitely, I think, fulfills the criteria for the amount of mass you're getting for your $30-something. Now here's a fun group shot of Ulik being led on by Loki. Because even though he is the king of the rock trolls, he has at times fallen under sway of, more powerful villains. And he's being led on a charge against Thor. And it's definitely Thor. It's not Ragnarok. Nope. Definitely not. It's the real deal. You just have to believe me. So I find this to be a pretty cool little setup here. If you like the idea of Ulik, serving as, kind of a henchman role, you can definitely put a more powerful supervillain behind him and just having him, charging down somebody for display or something. Or if you prefer to see him like the proper king he is, you can put him in a more, regal setup, but this one definitely works for me. And this completes our look at the new Marvel Legends Ulik. I personally very much like this figure. I think he came out just excellent. The colors, the sculpting, everything, the parts, having several different swappable accessories and everything really makes him feel worth it to me. And even though it's kind of a pain that he's a Walmart exclusive, if you're willing to deal with Walmart, I think he's worth it. I think he's an incredibly well-painted toy. As I said, I don't have the original Ulik, so I don't, have that to compare him directly to. But the general consensus that I've seen is that he is the better of the two. I think it's, coming down to like the paint, the face sculpt, everything is apparently better. So if you do not have an Ulik, this is the one that I think is probably the best to pick up. It seems to be the most satisfying. If you do already have the old one, it's kind of hard to say. If you're willing to pick up another version of the character, you'll probably like this one a little bit more, but he's not so markedly different to where, it's a must, especially since the old one came in a 2-pack, so, you probably want to hold on to that the character came with. So, yeah, he's a good figure. Maybe not the most necessary. He's a pretty minor update to a toy that's not very, very old. So I think it really, really comes down to whether or not you already have a version of him. If not, I think he's a must-buy. He's just an incredibly cool-looking character, very satisfying figure. If you have the old one, then, it's really up to you. I think you'll probably enjoy this guy. I think you'll like him more than the old one. But depending on your budget and everything, it may not be worth the extra cost. Of course, that is just how I feel about this Ulik figure, so now I want to know what you all think of it. Do you think this came out really well? Is it something that you're eager to pick up, or if you have it already, do you like it? Or are you not interested in this? Maybe you have the old one and you don't feel the need to double dip, maybe you have no attachment to the character, or maybe you don't like the way this came out. Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like, let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends Ulik. And with all that said, I will see you next time.